Hello, my name is Carly Henry, and my presentation for SPED 533 today is going to be on token economies via applications to improve positive behavior. My thesis statement about using token economies via an application is that using points on an application for like a Chromebook can improve and maintain positive behavior. I use Chromebook as an example just because that's what we have within our school system, but you could also have it apply to like an iPad. So first off, why is using a token economy so important when working with individuals? So your student or even your client, they can visually see their reinforcement instead of just getting something verbal and then forgetting about it, because we all know and we've all learned that we hear more negative praise than we ever do our positive praise. So seeing the tokens and the points that they're getting is a great reinforcer for them. It's also consistent and it's structured. The student or the client, they know exactly what they need to do to earn their token. And so when they know what to do, that can be very motivating because they're working towards something that they enjoy doing. So they know that if they complete whatever task it is that's being asked of them, they will get to do the fun thing that they would like at the end. And since we are getting them to complete what we are asking of them, this helps build their skills, whether that's academics, social emotional, whatever it may be. So some empirical evidence that I have. The first one is from Kim et al.'s 2022, and they described a successful token economy can be used across different settings and populations, as well as using that with varying age, gender, disability, and disorders. And then my next piece of evidence is by Henniger in 2022. And they just talked about how it can let staff acknowledge students in a nonverbal way, especially if you have a student or a client who really doesn't like attention on them, and that can increase behavior sometimes. So just letting them see it without drawing attention to them can be a great tool. And this happens when a student is performing as directed. And token economies can reinforce pro-social behaviors. And using this, it's also evidence-based and it's an organized reinforcement. So the contingency that is being used here is the antecedent behavior consequence contingency. And so this contingency really just examines events that precede whatever behavior is going to happen, the behavior itself, and the consequences that follow, whether that's a positive consequence or a negative consequence. So how does antecedent behavior consequence apply to a token economy? So again, reinforcement starts with an antecedent. So that's just something that's happening before the expected behavior or not expected behavior. So for example, expectations for the lesson or expectations for the day. It could be an expectation for the next 5 minutes. It could be just about anything. And then B is our behavior. So again, they'll have an antecedent, something will happen, and then the student or client will produce a behavior, whether that's positive or negative. So for an example, it could be cleaning up their mess or not shouting during a lesson. And then our consequence. So did they complete the expectation? If they did, then they would get their point. If they did not complete the expectation, whatever was being asked of them, then they would not get a point. Now, the other question is, where can token economies be used with a device? So a device could also, it could be a Chromebook like I talked about before. It could be an iPad. I know some students, they have cell phones that they can use, or even anybody else that we might be using this with. So you can use them in school. We've got several devices at our school, like Chromebooks and iPads. We don't have cell phones in our school except for a select few students who have diabetes, and that's how they track that. You could also use it in a therapeutic environment. So that would be like a hospital. You could use a token economy. We've got some young kids who like to be daredevils, and they can break bones, and they need physical therapy. So they could be at a hospital, and they might not want to be doing the physical therapy because it hurts. So they could use a token economy with a device so they can track that child's progress. It can also be used in outpatient clinics. That's a therapeutic environment. Nursing homes or even group homes. This could be beneficial. And you could also use it at home. I know a lot of kids nowadays have cell phones and iPads, and parents can use these at home for chores, where, okay, if you get all these chores done, each chore will get a point, and then you can go play with your friends, or you can play your video game, or whatever it might be. So here's a real life example of a token economy being used via an application. We use it on our Chromebooks. We use it in our general education class for 3rd grade. That's one of the grades that I work with. We are considered a frontier school, so we have very small class sizes and just a very small school in general. Within this general education classroom, there are students with IEPs, which is an individualized education plan, and 504s, and then you just have your regular kids without either of these as well. There is also an even split between genders, and the biggest hurdle that we've noticed within the 3rd grade class is they don't enjoy completing their classwork. They'd much rather sit around, and they'd rather chalk, or you just do whatever is opposite of what's being asked of them. So that's been our biggest struggle with these students, is getting them to get their classwork done. So that's when we introduced the token economy via their Chromebooks, so they would get points, and we were able to find one where we could either hide the points from all of the students, or we could have like a leaderboard, and it could be projected onto the board so they could see how many of their classmates are getting their work done. So since we implemented this, this is just one little example. We've used it in math, reading, and some other areas, but we would have the kids complete a section of their math. If it was like an easier math section, like a review section, and then they can earn a point. Now, the more difficult tasks, so if we're assigning something where it's just like brand new content and they're still struggling with it, that would be considered a more difficult task. So instead of just completing the whole thing, which could become tedious for them, they could earn a point for each correct answer. So then as they're getting them correct and they're getting their points, they're going to be more motivated to complete the whole thing instead of seeing this really hard worksheet or program, whatever it might be, and say, oh my goodness, I'm only getting 1 point for all of this hard work. Whereas the easier stuff, that's easier to give them just 1 point for the whole section. And then since we have started using this, we've seen an increase in classwork completion. And like I talked about, when the whole class can see the other's points, we've noticed with this particular class that they tend to cheer each other on, and the kids who are at the bottom with the lower points, they're like, oh, I really want to get up to so-and-so because she's my friend. And so using that as an advantage of, not, oh, they're beating me, but, oh, like, let's get you up to your friend. And so that's helped a lot as well. And here are my 2 references that I used at the very beginning. So I look forward to any comments that you guys may have, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Have a good summer almost.